Welcome to the Arsenal Report, and remember, make subscribe, then continue, enjoy your news. Done deal. Alexander Isak signs for Arsenal in landmark transfer. The long wait was finally over. On a bright Thursday morning in North London, the red side of the city erupted with joy as Arsenal Football Club officially announced the signing of Swedish striker Alexander Isak from Real Sociedad. After weeks of whispers, meetings, and late-night negotiations, the club released the now iconic "Here we go" tweet. Only this time, it came with a picture. Isak, beaming in the pristine red and white home kit, standing at the centre of the Emirates Stadium pitch, arms folded, with the words, "Alexander Isak is a gunner. Welcome to Arsenal." It was the transfer Arsenal fans had been dreaming of, not just for weeks, but for years. The story of this transfer began long before this summer. Mikel Arteta had long admired Isak, even mentioning him quietly back in 2022 when Arsenal were looking for a striker. But at the time, the stars didn't align. The club wasn't quite ready to spend big, and Isak was still finding his rhythm in Spain. Fast forward 3 years, and the entire landscape had changed. Arsenal had evolved. No longer the young project, or the nearly men. They had pushed Manchester City to the wire for 2 straight seasons. The squad was experienced, the manager respected, and the ambition undeniable. When the 2024-25 season ended in heartbreak, 1 point behind the champions, it was clear to everyone at the club. They needed a striker who could finish the job. Someone who could convert those tight draws into narrow wins. Someone who could lead the line with grace and power. Tall, technically gifted, lightning quick, and ice cold in front of goal. He ticked every box. Arteta called him a complete modern forward. Edu called him the missing piece. And Ødegaard, Isak's former teammate at Real Sociedad and current Arsenal captain, made a few quiet phone calls of his own. The final agreement was wrapped up in the early hours of Wednesday morning, following a long day of back and forth between Arsenal's sporting director Edu and Real Sociedad president Joaquin Aperribe. The deal was confirmed at €65 million plus €10 million in potential bonuses, with Isak signing a 5-year contract until 2030 and an option for a 6th year. His salary places him among the top earners at the club, but crucially within Arsenal's tightly structured wage model. Isak underwent his medical in 2 parts, one in San Sebastian, and the final stage at Arsenal's London Colney training ground, under strict secrecy. Not even the training staff were told who the player was until he walked through the door. He walked in with that calm, cool smile, said one member of the club's medical team. No flash, no ego, just focused. We knew we had someone special. Shortly after the official announcement, Arsenal released a video on their social platforms. It began with soft piano music, showing the streets of Stockholm, the beaches of San Sebastian, and the iconic view of the Emirates under lights. The camera faded to a training session. Isak receiving a ball from Ødegaard, flicking it past a defender and curling it into the top corner. Fans around the world couldn't contain their excitement. Within minutes, the Arsenal website crashed from traffic. On Twitter, X, hashtags like Welcome Isak, Why Isak Eyes Red, and Gunners Unite were trending globally. Arsenal Fan TV was live for 7 hours straight. The Emirates megastore reported a 400% spike in online shirt sales, with Isak 14 and Isak 9 leading the charts, even though his official number hadn't yet been revealed. Sources close to the club confirmed that Martin Ødegaard played a major role in the deal. As captain and a close friend of Isak, Ødegaard spoke often with his former Sociedad teammate over the past month. Martin was always texting, Isak said in a behind-the-scenes interview. He told me what Arteta is like every day. The ambition, the brotherhood in the dressing room, the energy at the Emirates. He said it's a place where players grow. Ødegaard, for his part, seemed just as excited. Posting on Instagram, he shared a picture of him and Isak during their Sociedad days, writing, "Arteta speaks." At the official unveiling, Mikel Arteta gave glowing praise for his new striker. "We've been following Alex for a long time. He's a player with rare qualities, intelligence, elegance, and a hunger to score. But more than that, he fits how we want to play. He's humble, he works hard, and he wants to be better every day. I believe he will be loved here. Arsenal will fly to the US in mid-July for their pre-season tour, with friendly matches against Inter Milan, LAFC, and a mouth-watering clash with Real Madrid. Isak is expected to lead the line in those matches. Fans are already dreaming of combinations. Odegaard feeding Isak through the lines. Another news.
Zubimendi to Arsenal, a Basque maestro nears North London. Switch. For months, Arsenal fans had scanned every headline, every whispered rumour, hoping for concrete news. Now, as the summer sun shimmered over London Colney and the hum of pre-season preparations began, the story dominating every back page in England and Spain was no longer just speculation. Martin Zubimendi, the quiet conductor of Real Sociedad, was on the verge of joining Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. It was a transfer long in the making, birthed not in desperation, but in design. Arteta, himself once a Basque midfielder whose journey took him from San Sebastian to Premier League stardom, had kept a watchful eye on Zubimendi for over 2 seasons. His admiration was no secret within Arsenal's scouting department. In Zubimendi, Arteta saw not just a player, but an extension of his footballing philosophy. Intelligent, composed, disciplined, and eternally aware of the pitch around him. The 26-year-old had quietly earned a reputation as one of La Liga's most elegant midfielders. A graduate of Real Sociedad's famed Zubieta Academy, he wasn't flashy, his football was nuanced. He made passes others didn't see, intercepted moves before they blossomed, and orchestrated games with the quiet authority of a symphony conductor. But it wasn't until Granit Xhaka's departure last summer and Thomas Partey's persistent injury issues that Arsenal accelerated their pursuit. Declan Rice had arrived to great fanfare, but Arteta craved balance, someone who could anchor the base of midfield while allowing Rice and Odegaard to roam with freedom. Jorginho, though dependable, was a stopgap. Zubimendi, by contrast, was the long-term answer. The deal, however, had always seemed complicated. Zubimendi was loyal, perhaps fiercely so. Last summer, Barcelona had courted him heavily. He declined. Bayern Munich inquired in January. He politely rebuffed. "I am at home here," he had said at the time, "and I owe much to Real Sociedad. But football, like time, changes everything." Quiet discussions began in early May. Edu Gaspar, Arsenal's technical director, had reached out to Zubimendi's camp discreetly. Unlike the bombastic approaches of other clubs, Arsenal moved with subtlety and respect. They didn't wave money or promises. They offered a vision. A place in one of Europe's most progressive squads, under a manager who understood Zubimendi both culturally and tactically. Sources close to the player began to shift their tone. While previously adamant he would remain in Spain, Zubimendi was now considering. He admired Arsenal's rise, their narrow title near miss in 2023, the stylish football, the faith in young talent. He had watched as Arteta turned Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli into world beaters as William Saliba matured into a defensive titan. The Basque midfielder could see himself thriving in red and white, but there was the release clause, $60 million, and Real Sociedad's insistence that they would not negotiate below it. Arsenal, wary of drawn-out sagas, opted for decisiveness. Last weekend, a delegation flew to San Sebastian. While no official announcement was made, multiple Spanish outlets reported that Arsenal had agreed to activate the full clause. It was a statement of intent. No haggling, no games. By Monday, trusted journalists Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein were tweeting in tandem. "Zubimendi to Arsenal, here we go." Almost. The player had given his green light. Personal terms had been verbally agreed. A 5-year contract awaited, with an option for a 6th, and a salary that would reflect his importance in the squad hierarchy, just under £150,000 per week. The move was not just significant tactically, but symbolically. For Arteta, it was personal. In Zubimendi, he wasn't merely signing a player. He was endorsing a kind of football rooted in their shared heritage. Patient, intelligent, meticulous. Back in Donostia, Sociedad fans were torn. There was pride that their academy had again produced a gem admired across Europe. But also sorrow. Zubimendi had been the heartbeat of their midfield, a quiet leader who rarely raised his voice but never shrank from responsibility.